to item 13. And Anna Jennings is the principal advisor that is the author of this report, and this is the establishment of delegations to treat with the Fast Track Consenting Act as it is now, was Bill, now Act. Anna, are you with us, please? Not yet. Can I have a mover for this, please?
Happy to move, Chair.
Sorry, and the voice belongs to?
Oh, sorry, Councillor Mulholland.
Councillor Mulholland, thank you. Do I have a second, please?
Yeah, Cashmore.
Deputy Mayor, thank you. So it's moved by Councillor Mulholland, seconded by Deputy Mayor Cashmore. I'll just check again whether Anna Jennings is with us now. John Dogood, are you able to support this item, please, for us?
Thank you, Chair. So it is another situation where we are seeking delegation to confirm the Council's position. So as you may recall, with the COVID-19 Fast Track Consenting Bill, which is now an Act, there are two key situations where the Council is able to become involved. The first one is when someone applies to the Minister for the Environment to go through the fast track process. Council and iwi are able to provide feedback to the Minister, and that's, I think there's a 10 working day time frame for that feedback to go into the Minister for the Environment. So that's the first situation. If a proposal is approved to go through the fast track legislation, which the primary benefit of that for a developer or infrastructure provider or anyone else is that it limits the opportunity for appeals to the Environment Court. So that's the key element of the fast tracking, or one of the key elements. So at that second stage, again, the Council and iwi authorities are invited to provide comment or feedback that then goes off to an expert panel to make a decision on either a resource consent or a notice of requirement under the Resource Management Act. So given the tight timeframes that the Government has confirmed through this Act, we did seek increased timeframes, but the Government hasn't agreed to the increased timeframes that we sought in general. So yeah, it is very fast tracked, generally 10 working days. Very difficult to get something to the Planning Committee in that time frame. But just as a bit of context, resource consent applications and notices of requirement don't come through the Planning Committee for a Council position in the normal course of events. But what we are suggesting here is that the Chair and the Deputy Chair of the Planning Committee, a member of the IMSB from memory, and the Ward Councillor will be advised of any significant proposals that come through this process to enable staff to include feedback from those members and also the relevant local board in preparing the Council's position. So just in summary, we're seeking delegation to staff to deal with all aspects of this legislation, but recommendation A, Roman numeral 2 in particular, is a red flag process identified in the report where if something is likely to be contentious or have potential for significant environmental impacts, we would, upon receipt of information from the Environmental Protection Authority, advise the Chair, Deputy Chair, member of the IMSB, Ward Councillor and local board as soon as possible and seek their input as part of the Council's feedback to the Minister in the first instance and into the expert panels.
Thank you, John. Now, we do have Anna online now. We've also got Ian Smallburn available. And I'm not sure how much of John's presentation there that you managed to pick up, but do you have anything to add?
Sorry, apologies, Chair. If I can jump in, there's one. The other member is the Chair of the Regulatory Committee, so my apologies.
Oh, yes.
Much of what we would like to see here is in the resource consent regulatory space as opposed to the plan making or notice of requirement space. So it's the chair of the planning committee, chair of regulatory, member of the IMSB and relevant ward councillor, not deputy chair of planning. Apologies to Councillor Cooper for that.
Kia ora, Chris, Councillor Darby. Sorry, I was having some audio issues, so I did miss some of what John ran through. It's Anna here. I did have a change from the Mayor's office, a recommended change to the wording in A. I just wanted to run through that. So there was a recommendation to add the words "in consultation with the Mayor's office" at the end of that first paragraph in A. So can we put that on for discussion and agreement by the committee as well?
That's right. That's a similar amendment was on an earlier motion. So we'll just make sure that's in place. And members, if I can just alert you, so to speak, to paragraph 15 with the red flag system that is clearly outlined there. That is an important section. And so that assumes a flagging to the chair of the planning committee, chair of regulatory and an independent Māori statutory board member and the relevant ward councillor, just as John Duguid has outlined. So it's not in the motion, it's not named in the motion from memory, John, but under the Roman 2, it is assumed. So I think that process is really clear. It's paragraph 15 in the report. Now, I've got questions. Councillor Casey first, please.
Oh, hi, John. My question relates to paragraph 15, if you can hear me okay.
We can.
Oh, good. Just around the local board input, if the red flag item is being sent to all local board members, there is no time enough for a board resolution. So how does it work that the opinions of possibly differing opinions of local board members will be amalgamated, or how's that going to work? Often, it can happen that boards don't agree or may disagree with the local councillor.
Thank you, Councillor Casey. Through the chair. Yeah, it's a similar situation to standard resource consents. There is an opportunity for local boards to provide comment, and there is a process in place for local boards to feed into that process and have a single view from the local board. I'm pretty certain that Anna Jennings has been in touch with local board services staff just to discuss this in the context of these fast-track consents. So I'll hand over to Anna, if I may, who can probably explain a little bit more about how the local board input would be obtained.
Anna, can you follow up on that question, please?
Thanks, John. It's Anna here. Yes, we did have a meeting with local board services to discuss this. It's not an ideal process that will allow them to go through a business meeting. Just a point of note about the red flag system, we've included if an application is a notice of requirement. So that allows local boards to get started on that process if it does go through and is accepted. Then that gives them opportunity to go through their business meeting before there is comment on their actual application from the panel. It does not allow time, though, to go through the business meeting before we have to get back to the Minister for comments on whether the application should be referred or not.
So, Anna, my question then is, who decides the board's position if there is a differing view?
And are you able to answer that? It's a bit of a political question, really, rather than a staff question. Councillor Casey, maybe I can assist there. The turnaround time is really quick and we can't do anything about it. We made submissions, we asked for longer periods, we don't have those. The statute is as it is. So we are going to just have to do our best with our local boards, and they're going to be, in some ways, a collection of informal views collated to represent the board view if there is a single view, but the board view with its dissent if there's contrary views. And I'm sure the staff will do their very best to represent those views. John, how else can the staff do it other than doing it that way?
Look, there are urgent delegations that some boards, if not all, have set out in relation to a range of matters. It's something that we really need to pick up with local board services and work to ensure that there is an opportunity for a single local board view, if possible. But the tight time frame doesn't allow for a business meeting, which does create the challenges. As Anna mentioned, if it's a notice of requirement, there's a bit more time under this Act for the local board to have a single point of view. If it's a fast-track resource consent, it's a bit more challenging, and it may be that that we have to set up a new process with local board services. We've started those discussions. We'll continue those with local board services to make sure that there is as much of an opportunity for the local board to have a single point of view as possible.
It's Ian Smallburn here. If I may add some comments, Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
for resource consents, we do have a delegated person for local boards, and when sending through information to the local boards, that delegated board member provides comments back to resource consent. So we'll be using that as an existing process. I think it would be potentially more challenging with the notice of requirement where a business meeting and an item needs to be discussed in more detail.
Thank you, Ian. Councillor Casey, can I just check back with you? Does that satisfy your questions?
Yeah, it does and it doesn't. Ian, in the red flag process, it says that the red flag items will be sent to all local board members. So that doesn't allow for your process where one delegated person responds. It looks like all board members have the ability to respond, so it might be just something you look at.
Yeah, happy to look at that, recognising that we'd be sending all applications to local boards as opposed to just the red flag ones. So any application that comes through this process, we would send to the local board for comment.
Thank you, Councillor
And
Casey.
again, it's all
sorry.
local board members. That's what's in the red flag process.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah, probably need to look at that. Thank you.
And that's standing at the moment, Councillor Casey. So paragraph 16 is plural members, as you highlight. Any further question there, Councillor Casey?
Nope, all good, thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Simpson?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I think my question has pretty much been asked by Councillor Casey. I had the same concerns, and I was just going to make sure that potentially the councillor and the local board were all emailed the same information at the same time. And my suggestion around that was that, you know, often we know how to get hold of the board members, and, you know, if you've got a time issue, just to assist in timing, if it was all emailed to the, you know, to the councillors and the local boards at the same time, noting that both are being involved, that would help. But yeah, I had the same questions, and I think that they've been answered. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Simpson. And members, I guess I can draw your attention to paragraph 17 and the putting in place of a guidance manual. So that will help support that engagement with, be it ward councillors and elected other elected members, local board members as well. So are there further questions? Oh, sorry, Linda, Councillor Cooper, I should say. Do you have a comment on the motion, Councillor Cooper?
Yeah, sorry, I guess just speaking to this, I mean, some of it's been answered, but we already do have a process around a notification decision process for local boards. And though there's a couple of local boards that don't think that's adequate, to keep the process fair, we do use that. But I think what we need to note is that a notice of requirement is going to be probably quite a big regional project. And so there will be a local board view, but if it's a big regional project in terms of utilities, it's going to need to be at a level where the local issues will be dealt with during the resource consent or notice of requirement process. And also my concern is that you send it to, and something that Councillor Casey said, local boards having the same ability as councillors. Well, councillors don't have a feedback mechanism for resource consent. We don't. because all of these are on behalf of council. Most of them, the council is looking at them. So the local board feedback is kind of a courtesy thing, really, because when we have to think about these bigger applications, our feedback needs to be on behalf of the council, a bit like the unitary plan stuff where we had a council view and the local board views were put in there as well. And my concern about every single local board member and councillor is we could have 170 views on something, and it needs to be a local board view, not 6 or 8 views from the local board. So that's what I'm concerned about, is that it needs to be a view from a local board rather than several different views, because we haven't allowed that before. It needs to be a consistent view from one local board or another. And we don't have councillor views. We either have a council view. And so I just want a bit of clarification on that, but that was also just trying to set some sort of scene on this. I might be wrong, but can I just have some clarification on that?
I'll go to John Dogood, Councillor Cooper.
Thank you, Councillor Cooper. I guess what we're asking you to resolve today is to endorse a red flag process. So it's delegations to staff subject to compliance with this red flag process, which is set out in paragraphs 15 through to 17. And when we talk about involving the chair of the Planning Committee, chair of regulatory, member of the Independent Māori Statutory Board, relevant ward councillor, and then we do say all members of the relevant local board, they will be sent, we're proposing that they are sent a copy of the application. But it does go on to say local board feedback will be included as part of the council's comments. So I guess that's not individual local board members' feedback, that's feedback from the local board.
Yeah, thank you.
So we do have to work through with local board services that process. As you mentioned, there is already a process in place. Is that fit for purpose here to actually have a single local board view as opposed to multiple? But we are providing all local board members the opportunity to at least give staff a perspective, but that wouldn't necessarily be the one that's proposed to be put forward to the Minister for the Environment or to these expert panels. It would be a single local board view that we're suggesting here under paragraph 16. Yeah.
Sorry, I just don't have any internet. So that's why I can't see the report.
That's okay. Look, thanks for the questions, Councillor Cooper, and thanks for bringing your wealth of knowledge from that area, the regulatory area, to the debate. And I think, councillors, the guidance manual, I think as that is worked up, I think it can be informed by some of the conversations that we've had here today. Thank you, Councillor Cooper. There are no further questions being notified to me, members. I'll just pause at that. Are there any other questions? No. So the motion is moved by Councillor Mulholland and seconded by Deputy Mayor Cashmore. I'll put that to the vote. Are there any further comments? Sorry. No further comments either. I'll put it to the vote then. All those in favour say aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
To the contrary, no. Declare that carried. Thank you, members.